Now recording.
I think I'm technically ready, but we'll wait till a quarter till. Are we expecting anybody else? I don't know.
No, this is all the regulars now. And even Donnie's not a regular. We're gonna have to put a recording or a recruiting out for some talkers. Where is Sri Lanka? Is that Asian?
Oh,
Near Indonesia, I believe. Malaysia? I think it might be Malaysia.
all right. I guess I'll get rolling here.
What are these you may also likes? Is that do you put that in, or is that something the website's just doing now?
Is it you're referring to?
Oh, never mind. I'm looking at the article, and then it says you may also like. I didn't. I thought I was still on the script page.
Right. Here we go. 3, 2. Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, David Hall.
I think my new nickname currently is Cyclops.
Nice. Brad Wren.
If I keep adding lights, it's going to be like daytime in here.
And Donnie Spiker.
Afternoon, fellas.
On today's show, we look at iRacing's first special events of the year. See which Cup driver was aggravated while racing online. Get a track scanning update from Dale Jr. See if the recent announcement from Moza has you excited. Woohoo! More AI discussions and what is Sim Coaches teasing?
And remember that you can follow along with us on your PC or your mobile device in real time as you listen to the show and see for yourself all of the great topics and products we'll discuss by visiting iRacersLounge.com. Select the show notes. We hope to see you there.
All right, first item up on the docket, we have an iRacing to reality story. We have Yavan David from Sri Lanka. Tell us a little bit more about him, Brad.
Yes, this was put up by iRacing, actually, I think this morning. So, talks about Yavan David. So, yeah, he's out of Sri Lanka, has started in karting, I guess around 6 years old, and has had the opportunity to run some single seaters. Um, Said he credits the FIA F4, or I'm sorry, the Super Formula, to being able to help him as he was preparing for some of, I guess he was running the Spanish F4 calendar. So having to run on familiar tracks, Portimao, Aragon, Jerez, and Barcelona. Um, and then he actually ended up going to, I believe, the FIA World, the FIA Motorsports Games. It ended up, I guess, one for Sri Lanka. So pretty neat.
That's a neat story. You're always going to see this nowadays, I think, with the younger generation where they're using iRacing as a tool, as a way to learn the tracks, practice the tracks. He said he was running F4 cars and using the iRacing to, prepare for that. Pretty cool. We'll see. It'd be neat to see how high he gets up in the open wheel ladder.
All right, well, let's go back to some old school sim to reality. We've got Raja in a C fixed at Talladega.
Yeah, this one was kind of funny. We have a streaming video of his stream. You can hear on the radio Malik Ray, his best friend, I guess, and Malik is pushing. Raja is the second car in line, so he's the pusher, and then Malik is the third car in line. And so they're doing that thing that you kind of have to do in Top Split to really be competitive. You have to have three cars kind of pushing at the same time. And so that's what they're trying to do. And there's a lot of coordination verbally about this. And it's just fun to listen to the two banter back and forth about, okay, what are we gonna do? Push hard now, and these kind of things. And the outside lane is just side drafting them like crazy. They're trying to win this race. It's fun.
Yeah, it looks like it ends in a blowover for Raja there at the end. He's having a great time, even though his I rating and safety rating's taking a beating, but looks fun.
It's clear that he's learning his racecraft in iRacing rooms like this with Malik Ray and others. And, he's applying that, in his real life job, which now he's full time in the top three series, obviously. So, uh, yeah, I do got to poke some fun at Raja Caruth. I mean, he did kind of throw his arms up like a girl when his car went up and over and squealed like a baby a little bit, but I've seen my streams. I think I do the same thing.
Well, wasn't it Daytona last year where he ended up turning somebody as the race was winding down, I believe. Caught some flack for that.
Look, he's getting reps at Daytona, leading up to Speed Weeks. I mean, the people that are on the sim right now in early January are going to be the ones that excel.
Well, we spent a lot of time talking 2024 last week, and what we have this week is a lot of YouTube videos, kind of sort of doing the same thing, right, Donnie?
Yeah, so we got a video from Daniel Gray, a YouTuber called Random Call Sign, and it looks like Traxion, no, sorry, Overtake GG. And they just kind of summarize the year 2024 that we similarly did last week. But they talk about IndyCar returning, Fanatec going belly up, the rain, Max won his iRacing 24-hour same weekend as winning a Grand Prix, and the 2025 Season 1 GTP issues.
We went over a lot of sim racing stuff in these channels. They're not dedicated to iRacing, but I kind of picked out those topics that they kind of hit that were iRacing related. I think the big one that we missed last week that was Max Verstappen mixing, his Formula One duties with a 24-hour iRacing event. That was kind of a neat thing to happen. And then we didn't even talk about IndyCar returning. We got the Indy 500 back. It was unexpected and it came kind of suddenly. And I think that was probably the best surprise of the year.
Yeah, I mean the whole Max thing. If you remember, that kind of started off the conversation in regards to is he um, is his real racing suffering because he's up all night racing on the sim and all that. And I know we had a lot of discussion about that. And actually, if I remember correctly, I guess Red Bull was going to try to limit what he was doing, and I remember Max had some choice words for them trying to limit what he planned to do in his off time.
Yeah,
He kind of stuffed it to him as well when he turned around and won the same weekend.
It was a
yeah.
mind your own business kind of comment too, I think. I'm an adult. I know when how much, rest I need before I race. And then he goes out and wins, just to prove him wrong.
Yeah, this was towards the part of McLaren starting their rise throughout the season and taking over that team championship, and it just gave the media something, the talking head, something to complain about or try to find a fault at, but obviously not an issue.
All right. So Mike, you spoke the other day about how you're actually getting a little bit of money from TikTok. How much money did this guy make?
DJ EJ puts up his now bi-yearly, or well, he did it last year, however you want to say that. He's doing it again this year. How much dollars did he earn making his YouTube channel? He talked about his strategy of changing from just doing as many videos as he could to a different strategy this last year of just doing quality videos instead of just cranking out a bunch of videos, and kind of have some more thought into them. And so he actually did better this year. I don't remember the exact number. You guys?
A little over $17,000.
For the year. And then you got to guess they took, is that with or without tax? That's probably without tax.
So it's 9.8 million views, and he netted, or I don't know, netted or whatever, but and he earned about a little over 17. And as we, I think Brad, you might have put this one in our group chat this week, and so I started googling it, like how much do these people actually make? I heard if you can have, because they don't pay you per subscriber. I was looking up the YouTube one, or the views. They pay you on the ad views that your videos get. But somewhere I read, if you can obtain about 85,000 subscribers, then you can start to make a decent living off that. But for him, 9.8 million views is what he's basing it off with $17,000. So it's interesting how much some of these folks can make.
Was that 17K for the year or for that video?
The year that
the
video, I think, was around like 6 or 7,000. I think just for the video, or 4,500, somewhere around there. Was quite a few thousand just for that one video.
I think we just didn't do the right thing when I decided okay, we're going to start a podcast, or we're going to start a YouTube channel that can review equipment that they send you for free, and you make ad revenue. Yeah, I should have been a YouTuber, I guess, instead of a podcaster.
It's all retrospective. I think about the many things I wouldn't mind doing in that
Buy
aspect.
Bitcoin,
But yeah,
several years ago.
I don't have that Marty McFly machine to go back and buy my sports almanac either.
That's the best way to do it.
But I do like the way that he's very open about what he's doing. And it was interesting. I think what he's put out this year to me has been so much better. I really enjoyed his long form videos, the interviews that he's done, and like I said, we've talked about some of the ones that he did of some of the guys that from 10, 15 years ago. For me, it's just it's kind of a walk down memory lane of watching names that I hadn't seen since the NR 2003 days and the early days of iRacing. So it was again, I am much more likely to watch one of his videos about that than I am to watch him tell me how to get around a track.
Yeah, and he's spot on with quality over quantity. He's one of the few guys I will sit down and watch his videos. He puts out good videos. They're thoughtful, and you could tell the research is being done when he does them.
All right, this next video is a little crazy. You might call it dedication. I'm not sure how real it is, to be honest. I'm sitting here looking at it. What we have is an Instagram video of a dude with a single widescreen rig sitting out in the sand at a beach.
Yeah, the surfboard's right next to it, so he's obviously racing in between taking his surfing lessons, I guess. But crazy.
Well, I have a couple of questions. First, where the screen's not on, it's black.
It's not on.
And unless that red box off to the left is a generator, I don't see where he's getting power from.
This
Isn't
is
it
supposed to be
hard?
by Next Level Racing, but yeah, I don't see unless he buried the wires in the sand. Yeah, there's no wires.
That looks like a
Is-
generator.
Isn't it hard to watch a computer screen out in the outside when it's bright?
It's not so easy, but if that's a generator, I can just imagine putting a gas electric generator in wet sand.
And then bury the cord in between the thing and the sand? I don't know.
In wet sand. I don't think it's real.
Well, it's more of the thought. I said
Yeah.
this to the
He's
wife,
having
and I was
fun.
like, "That's right." I said this to my wife, and I was like, "What do you think of on our next vacation?" She wasn't too happy with it.
It's just fake Instagrammers. All you need is a single monitor now, right?
I've seen a
Oh, you
post on Facebook once, one of the Facebook groups for iRacing that asked, "Hey, I'm on vacation. I don't want to miss my league race. Is there anybody at this particular area?" I think he was down in Orlando. "Is there anybody in the Orlando area I can come over and borrow your rig and run my league race?"
You know, this year our beach trips, we've cut down a lot on what we take to the beach just to make it simpler. Now to think to add a sim rig, granted it's a foldable next level racing one, but my goodness, as we cut back this year, we're adding with the sim rig. I don't know, maybe we'll get it to go next year.
As much as I race, I can do without it for a week when I'm at the beach. All right. Normally, we don't call out drivers for wrecking us, but I want to point out as we talk about this next one that our teammate takes it as a point of pride almost that he's been wrecked by this guy. And apparently, this guy got beef with somebody else.
He's had a lot of beef this last year, hasn't he? I mean, in the real NASCAR series, we're talking about Mr. Carson Hocevar, and he's known in iRacing as Carson Hocevar 2. But yeah, he was in a well, we have a video up on YouTube from DLB TV where he shows a interaction where he's on track with Langley Speedway at the 87s with Mr. Carson, and they're running for first place. And basically, Carson was I don't know if he was blocking him, but he was holding the bottom lane, and the guy was kind of rubbing on him and giving him the hint. He didn't take the hint, and eventually he kind of moved him out of the way, and then there was some back and forth, moving each other out of the way. What do you guys think? Was it fair play here?
I mean, it's street stocks at a short track. This stuff typically happens with the aggressive guys. I mean, you could argue that he chopped his nose. You can argue the guy dove bomb him. I don't know.
it's probably a little bit of both. I mean, again, it's street stocks. It's at Langley. Look, if I'm the guy in the lead and I know who's behind me, you almost got to expect what's coming.
Right, like I said, you've seen it on your television on Sunday afternoons, right, Brad?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's if I'm in a race and I've got him behind me and I'm leading, I might as well expect that that's probably what's going to happen. Or look, I know he's going to be aggressive. So, um, the guy was, I don't know if he was blocking, he was defending. How about that?
I remember back when I was more into NASCAR, watching it on a regular basis. There would always be a senior driver that would pull aside a rookie driver that was kind of having those kind of issues and set him straight. I remember Dale Earnhardt was that guy. Dale Earnhardt Sr. Jeff Burton was that guy. Kevin Harvick was that guy. Maybe Tony Stewart as well. But I mean, who is that guy now that all those stars have retired? Who is the senior in the garage that's kind of taking Carson by his collar, behind the garage?
There's a few senior drivers, but yeah, none of them are going to be doing that.
No, no. I
It's
mean,
kind of
it's
my
not like
point.
it. Yeah, it's not like it used to be. I mean, it doesn't. They used to kind of take care of themselves, and no, I mean, the most senior you got is probably Denny Hamlin, and he's probably the worst one to give advice about that kind of stuff.
You know, some sports franchises will hire their old time greats to come back and kind of just be a presence. NASCAR could possibly do that with like the Mark Martins and Rusty Wallaces and whatnot, and have them just roam the garages or whatever you want them to be. Just to I don't know, but yeah, we don't. They lack that those personalities.
Well, Mark Martin's chilling in Utah. You're not going to get him to come back to talk to a bunch of youngins.
He needs to come back.
Didn't Mark Martin just win Cracker of the Year on Twitter? Oh, that was so funny. Mainly for his viral tweet where he, got angry with NASCAR about that lawsuit stuff. That was something. Anyway, I think we digress there. But one more thought on this is, I think after the race there was some chat. I don't know if it was verbal or typed, where Carson, kind of ended the conversation of, "Hey, buddy, have fun watching me on Sundays for the next 10 years."
Yeah, he definitely won the verbal confrontation.
Well, this is another one that I'm pretty sure is fake. This is the week of fake stuff on the internets. Will the real Danica please stand up? And we've got a post from Danica Patrick 3 on the forums. And guess what? It's not there anymore.
Yeah, I just realized that.
Hi, a pleasure to join this community. I hope we enjoy the track together, and let's see if the iRacing staff can remove the 3 from my surname. Greets.
We have obviously we have a 1 and a 2. Does anybody know if they're the actual Danica Patrick, the 1 or the 2?
Well, apparently it's a common name. Because you don't you have to use your ID to get your name in here?
You do? I was able to get mine changed from Donald to Donnie. Um, During a couple years ago, they were being a little bit more lax on the names. But yeah, I mean, I was originally Donald Spiker based off my credit card.
Look, I follow Danica on Instagram, and I have for quite some time. And I don't know, after several years of watching people's stories on Instagram, you almost feel like you know them personally. Look, she's not the type that would say greets at the end. That's not her, I guarantee you.
Surname too, possibly.
Yeah, that's a very British word to use for last name.
Yeah, so basically it's a post in the forums that says, "I'm new in iRacing. How do you take the three off my name?" And so the replies that I saw were basically, email iRacing and ask them blah blah blah. Now, with the post being removed, I presume that iRacing saw that. They see the you can see there's a little face icon, and it's actually a picture of Danica in her GoDaddy fire suit. That's a real bright green. And so they're obviously trying to mimic her specifically. And iRacing deleted the post completely. So you would think that that person maybe got their account taken down, I would guess.
I'm gonna go have a look.
It'd be
And
Danica Patrick 3 with with no space.
in the meantime, while I'm looking, Mike, tell us about the next one.
Yeah, so we have a post from Dale Earnhardt Jr. It was actually a reply to iRacing asking about 2025, asking, just a open question. Dale Earnhardt Jr. replied, Winchester, Florence, and Berlin. And then he also replied, two are scanned and one is currently unlicensed.
Well, we saw some months ago, I guess, that he's able to kind of get things done. So if we remember, I think it was Steve Myers had got a phone call and wanted the paperwork, and within the afternoon, I think Junior had gotten somebody signed as far as the track.
He's got the 3 listed: Winchester, Florence, and Berlin. I'm pretty sure Florence is the no-brainer. Is he saying there's 2 out of these 3 that are for sure coming, or 3 are coming, but 1 is unlicensed at this point?
Two of them are scanned, so I would guess unlicensed mean has not even has is not willing to sign yet.
So out of those 3, what are your guys' guesses? I'm guessing Florence and Berlin.
No, I think the one that's unsigned is Berlin. I think we have the other two are in the pipe, but that's my guess.
Florence, I would assume, just after him being there, you know, last year. I don't know. It could be either or. Um, I don't know.
Berlin will be interesting because they don't have a traditional pit road, so that's gonna screw a lot of things up. I know it'll make our teammate Tony Rochette happy. He's that'll make a future build for him. He'll actually give a an approval rating for that one. But Berlin has a weird infield.
There is a post in the replies from a guy named Jerry Green 121. He says, "Hey Dale Jr., Jeff Striegel says, come scan Berlin. They're ready for you."
There you go.
See, that's the beauty of social media. You put something out like this, Dale puts out 3 words: Winchester, Florence, Berlin. That's all he types into his phone. And it ends up with somebody talks to somebody at that particular track and says, we need to get you on iRacing, and it's going to lead to the scam.
All right, so here's an update. Just like everything else, it's not really possible anymore to just look up a driver's profile. Or at least if it is, I don't know how to do it in the current UI. The person comes up where you can send them a message in the forums, but that's it.
Um, no, you can look up. You should go over to where your friends thing is.
Yes, it
Ah,
is. Yeah. Somebody had to walk me through this a couple days ago.
It's so intuitive.
I spent minutes. I think it was Waldron, our teammate Chris. I could not find how to search somebody, and he's like, "Oh, just click on the friends thing at the bottom." I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
All right, so found the Danica Patrick 3. Joined surprisingly yesterday. Was last
That
online
was true.
this morning at 9:30. Is a member of the Club West Racing. So I guess that's West Coast or somewhere out there.
So the account is still active, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, no activity as far as no races or anything.
They probably just took the post down because people in the comments were probably getting out of line or something, because of the Danica thing.
Danica Patrick Two's from California Club,
That sounds correct, right? Her parents are originally California, right?
and the original Danica Patrick is Club West. Are you Club West, Mike?
I am. So she's also in Scottsdale. That's where she lives, where I'm at.
none of them have any iRating or at all. None of the 3 accounts have run a race.
Mm.
So
Mike, it'll be up to you to follow up on this and see what's happening.
Yep. I'll have to ask her on Instagram. What's up?
Invite her to one of your TikTok racing streams.
I used to get Haley Deegan all the time on my stream, but ever since she got a job, I haven't seen her.
all right. Grass can just about get anywhere, can't it, Brad?
Yeah, but it usually needs to be connected to the dirt. So we got a post here from Steve J. Lewis says Road Atlanta floating grass turn 1 new foliage issue. So we got a screenshot here of right by the Marshall stand, um, getting ready to go up the hill in turn 1. Got just got some grass that's kind of hanging out and floating right up there by the cement barriers. So interesting.
You wanted 3D grass, right?
Um, yes, but that's no, it doesn't work.
Did I
I
to
don't know.
catch that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't run the foliage on as far as when I'm racing. I have it on at replay. It's distracting to me to have it on when I'm racing because of just the way that it loads. Um, but yeah, I would have. I don't think I'd ever seen this.
I think I saw it at Virginia a few weeks back. I remember it was just a small little patch, and I just thought not to think anything of it. They'll fix it, or hopefully not think too negatively of it as I was driving by it. But yeah, I think I saw it at Virginia. I don't know exactly where.
But ended up with a post following that up from Michael Hinkle saying, "I'll have a chat with the grounds crew to see if we can get this cleared up." So it'll get added to the list, and magically, I bet you in the next patch or hot fix there'll be a correction on the grass.
So if you have a lawnmower, how is it going to cut that grass? Is it going to have to float too?
You do the
Weed eater,
wheelie. You pop the
yeah,
wheelie.
or the weed eater.
Papa Willie. Can you drive it on the side? Just kind of
Now,
spew up the
I don't
do a
have
little
grass.
side
I
Willie.
live in an apartment, but I gotta ask, does anybody here have a riding lawnmower, and do you take like the limiter off of it?
I had one before we moved a few years ago, and no, I did not take the limiter off of it because
In my area,
my wife was the one that was she was doing the riding mowing and I was doing the pushing.
there is actually lawnmower racing
Oh
leagues.
yeah, that's a big thing.
So I asked, maybe we need a scan, a lawnmower scan.
That was a running joke, Mike, like 10, 12 years ago.
I'm mowing.
About the same time, if anybody remembers the infamous cart, which everybody assumed was the scan of a cart, a go-kart wheel. That was one of the things that was talked about as well.
All right. Well, since we're talking about bugs, this next one is not actually about iRacing, kind of, sort of. The title is iRacing is not as buggy as you think. Um, and it's basically about Microsoft Flight Sim, which I heard a lot of our teammates who were just salivating for it to come out talk about how bad it started off.
Yeah, it's a comparison to other products that are developed as software, and it's basically saying, we have it good at iRacing. Look at some of these other disasters that, is happening. Microsoft, putting out their recent, simulator Flight Sim 2024. Um, he actually talks about he actually bought the older version, the 2020, installed it, and within the first 4 hours, he's got a litany list of unresolved graphical issues and different things wrong with the 4-year-old or 5-year-old version of software, let alone the new version. But you got to remember that these are kind of comparing apples to oranges, in my opinion, because iRacing is a constantly evolving software. Every day, every quarter, every year, they're chipping away at it. Okay, these kind of products like the Microsoft Flight Sim, they're a 2 to 4 year probably development, and then when they're done, they're done.
So, David, you do all the flight sim stuff. Is there anomalies in what you do as far as bugs and stuff?
Yeah, DCS definitely has issues, and they're interestingly, I mean, they have a development cycle too. They're always constantly updating because they have a lot of aftermarket purchases and such, maps and planes that are always being worked on. Um, but there's definitely issues, and some things don't end up ever getting completely fixed. Especially right now, they're in a conflict with one of their partners who over who's getting paid what, and basically that partner has refused to continue to develop the F-15E Strike Eagle, and so that particular plane basically had stopped, and it even seemed to have like a time bomb. After a certain date, the radar on it stopped working on unless you scrolled your computer back. So they think, um the going theory is that partner developer actually put in basically a dead man switch that went off after they couldn't resolve their payment issues. So there can definitely be problems, but DCS is constantly updating as well.
Think about that too. I mean, Microsoft, the publisher of this, they're obviously relying on third parties, as you just described, to build, particular components or planes or whatever. iRacing doesn't do that. Everything's in-house. They didn't go outside. They actually hired the competition. They hired the best engineers and developers that are in the gaming industry as far as sim racing goes, brought them in-house, got them on the payroll, and they don't have to deal with that. And so can you imagine if you were, driving a car and all of a sudden some feature of the car becomes disabled because some third party has a payment dispute with the publisher? That'd be nuts.
I think this next topic might be a little bit nuts too, but ironically, there's a lot of people who are worried about AI becoming judges in a lot of situations where they may not be comfortable with AI becoming judges. This is from David Dos Santos, and he's basically recommending having the AI become a race commissioner during the race and actually make judgment calls on who should be at fault for races. Um, and my thoughts are we can't even get the AI to handle caution placement correctly and lining the field up correctly without people getting black flags that they shouldn't get. So neat idea, but let's wait until we fix a lot of the other stuff. And just the idea of handing all the judgment over to the machine is kind of scary.
I can see it possibly happening, but down the road. It's going to take probably a couple years, I would imagine, if they even wanted to do something like this. It's hard to you understand AI or iRacing's uh, no fault system when it comes to assigning incident points, but like sometimes you're thinking like me getting rear-ended, did I really need that 4x? I mean, you're supposed to avoid these incidents, I guess, is the moral of the story for safety rating. But sometimes it's like, ugh, like did that 4x really need to be put on me? But maybe AI could fix that kind of stuff in the future. Who knows? But for a totality of it, I'm not sure.
No, I mean, I think they need to fix the incident system to begin with because there's too many times where 4X is just from light contact. I mean, we've seen that, especially on the oval side. I mean, bump drafting at Daytona, and you end up with a 4X. Um, I would prefer them to try to work on that. Look, it's AI. I mean, look what happens when you watch a football game. I mean, you got 5 refs and 3 of them see something different. To be able to trust what it is, I just don't think it would work. As flawed as everybody thinks the incident system is, I think it's probably the best that we're ever gonna get. I mean, it takes 2 cars to cause an accident, whether you're right or wrong. So, for me, I mean, it I try to look at it as, "All right, what could I have done differently?" And then that's where, Donnie, you and I were talking about, some of this multi-class racing with the GT4s and the LMP3s, and sometimes you just have to make the choice of it ain't worth it. Let me back out.
I guess Brad's so good he's never done a self spin.
Oh, I have.
Well, then how does two cars cause that?
Well, I'm no.
Gotcha. I
Okay. For
just
me,
got you in a logic trap. I know what you meant, but that was a little bit of a logic trap.
look, for me, I had a viewer on my stream the other day celebrating, "Hey, I just got my A class." I'm like, hey, congratulations." He was actually excited about it. And I went on to say, "Look, dude, I mean, as you get into this and you get more experience, you're gonna find that you don't give a crap about your SR. Okay, you're not gonna monitor it, you're not gonna look at it, you're not gonna really care about it. What's gonna matter is your IR, because you're gonna want to build that and move into better splits and win races. That's what we're all doing this for." And so that was kind of my advice to him. And look, me being a guy into this more than a decade, I could give a crap what my SR is, and it doesn't affect me. So I have actually no problem with the incident system the way it is. um, could this AI make it better? I think it could, but I think you guys are on the right path. Not now. I think this is something that you maybe add down the road. You get your other yellows and your race control fixed, before you consider even trying this. And then when you do try it, you need to kind of run a experiment where you keep the current system, but you run this system parallel on the stats, and you see how did the AI decide fault versus, and then where did the X's land on, did they land on the right people? And then you have somebody go back and forensically look at the race, look at what the AI decided, did they make the right choice, and then adjust it. And then I think you could eventually program it to do it.
There's a lot of nuances though, and a lot of gray area in in making the judgment calls on, especially when you start dealing with, was this, did this person wash out, or did this person not leave enough room? Um, Look how many times me and Brad disagree on who's at fault in a IMSA incident. I'm not sure if we disagree or not. There are bad GTP drivers out there. There are bad GT3 drivers out there.
Amen.
Just depends what you're driving. That's the perspective.
David, we brought this one on the script for you specifically, and you said it was something happened at the Motegi.
Yeah, in fact, I pointed this out to Brad as because I'm following this thread, and people are saying that the same thing is happening to him that at Motegi that happened at the 12 hour. That people are, as the track conditions are changing, people on the track at the same time are getting either completely undrivable conditions or drivable conditions. Something is happening when you're trying to drive the tires when the track is drying, and it's not. It doesn't seem to be drying for everybody. I haven't seen any new answers from the staff, but at this point, they probably need to take at least anything that's going to dry out. They need to leave it. They needed to keep it out, make it stay wet the whole time, uh, or make it stay dry the whole time, because it's particularly happening when the track is drying out.
Yeah, Dave, we talked last week. We had the oddity about the weather change halfway through the week with at Watkins Glen, and I'm wondering, next week we're supposed to have rain at Hockenheim Ring, so it'd be curious to me whether or not that forecast stays the same or if it changes. Because I personally think there's probably something's wrong with the GTP tire model. Is my guess. In that last update, and I think it's affected by, like you said, either as track dries or something's going on somewhere.
I want to read a post here for a little bit more clarification. Here's what Hugo Prito put up. For me, it was wet conditions, whole. For most of the others, track was already dry. I'm not talking about visual effects. I'm talking about a total lack of grip in the same moment in the same car using the same setup. The teammate was driving dry tires while I was 20 seconds off because for me, it felt fully wet.
And that's exactly what happened to me at the Nürburgring. I went out on dry tires when the track was dry and barely touched the gas and spun out exiting the pits, and tried driving it for a lap, and it was basically driving as if it was like 63% wet at least, if not 13. So something's definitely wrong, and they are still looking into it. They haven't responded yet, but um it's there. So
Yeah, their last response was December 23rd, saying that they have enough information to investigate it, but yeah, no response beyond that.
Look, my concern is the Daytona 24 is coming soon, and they need to get this resolved before then. What if it rains during that 24? Look, I don't want
It's
them to
raining.
turn it off unless, yeah, I don't want them to turn it off. I want to be able to experience the rain if it's supposed to rain, but I want this fixed too. And then on the second part of that, we just kind of split ourselves into two cars here today and start planning the schedule. And I think as a you both you guys are car managers, but we need to strategize. What if this happens to us during our race? A guy goes, we switch drivers. The guy goes out. He says, "I can't control it. It feels like it's wet, but we're on a dry pavement." And he experiences this. Should we be prepared to hit that person immediately and put somebody else in the car? So for that person, it feels dry. Like, should we have a backup driver or have somebody be ready to get back into the car if this happens?
it's not a bad idea. Also, if you just go ahead and put wets on, that's what I ended up having to do at Nürburgring. I just put the wets back on and it was drivable.
But how much are you off pace on wet tires?
About the same as if I was faster than when I was on the dry tires, because I actually had grip. But as compared to At that point, we were so spread out and there were so few cars. I don't know. I know I was running about as fast as the leader. So yeah, hopefully they have something sorted by the Daytona 24. So divide that by 10 and you get 2.4, right? Is that math correct? Why don't we have Mike, will you ask Siri live on the radio so everybody can see how you calculate tires percentages when we're in an NIS race?
What? I don't know what number you want me to divide.
24 divided by 10.
Uh, I don't even have my phone.
Let me do it for you. It's 2.4. Thank you, Siri. Yeah, Mike always uses his phone to do the math, and I always like to try to do it in my head. Um, but we have the Daytona 24. I'm not sure what AMR stands for, but it's the
America.
first.
I
Oh,
think it's
okay.
yeah, it's the link to the America
That's
split.
the region split. Okay. So the majors is going back to three regions. If you followed the majors, they went to two for a while. They're going back to three regions. One of the regions runs kind of like an Aussie time zone. One runs on Sunday morning, which is better for Euros. Um, I want to avoid that one so I can run NIS unless I quit NIS again. Um, and then the Sunday evening is the American time zone one. That's the one I plan on running. But this is the first event, and you can run all three time zones if you want for the Daytona 2.4 to get you some practice. I don't know though if they're running all three classes or not.
I think
I
Tom
th-
Greiling was going to run all of them.
yeah, I think they're just running GTPs and GT3s. But look, I mean, I'm going to run it. I mean, I plan to run the majors this year anyway, and for me, it's 2 hours of practice the week ahead of the 24 hours. So for me, I'm just really going to use it just to dial setup in for the team.
Yeah, and just get experience. Yeah, I do not see the LMP2 on here. So if that's what you're running, you're not going to be able to get help from the major series. They like leaving the LMP2 out of their multi-class stuff. There will be a ton of well, I don't know how many splits there'll be, and I don't know if they said if they're going to run with cautions on this or not.
Don't remember. I mean, I think right now the Americas is up to 93. I think I saw 93 people signed up right now.
So it's not this weekend, but next week's weekend is the majors 2.4.
Yes.
And then leading up to the actual 24, you can run if you're a Class A, you can run IMSA all week as well.
Yeah, I looked at IMSA and they're at Sebring this week.
And I'll know a lot of our guys that only run the Daytona 24 are only wanting to practice at Daytona. And I'm just like, just run IMSA because you get practicing laps on a mostly empty track in non-racing conditions. You're just not going to get the experience that you get when you're running the 24. And so if you run, especially under IMSA, you're going to have a little bit of extra pressure because GTPs are going to be way less patient because they've only got 45 minutes to make the race. So practice IMSA, run Sebring, run. I'm going to actually probably have to learn Hockenheim next week because I'm going to try to run all 12 weeks this year at IMSA. Um, but just get experience in multi-class racing under race conditions with the sprint races instead of just turning laps at Daytona only.
Yeah, and I'm sure I can find a Daytona hosted room probably. Uh, but I love Sebring, so I'll probably run a Sebring maybe even tonight after the show.
All right. So we're talking events. What about the Roar, Brad?
Yep. So starting next weekend, the 10th and the 11th of January, we've got the Roar. This is going to be the GT4s and the LMP3 classes. 2.4 hour event. This will be a solo endurance. It's going to run all at the normal 5 time slots. So the license is a D 4.0. The normal 30-minute warm up, 8 minutes. BOP has not been announced yet. So, and I'm sorry, we also have the touring cars in here as well. So you have three classes in this race. So this is always a fun one. Remember how I did last year? I didn't do too terrible, but yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to kick off the start of quite a few busy weekends of endurance racing.
And the kick butt posters continue in 2025. They obviously found a niche there. This one is great with three of the cars streaking across with a bright red. Looks good.
Almost makes me think of the old movie Tron.
It's
If you
an
remember the
awesome
light
poster.
cycles. Yeah. All right, Donnie, go ahead and tell us about the next special event.
So the Daytona 24 follows with another awesome poster. This one is January 17th to the 19th. Did you guys cover this one? And it follows the next weekend after the Roar.
This is just got published this week officially, so we kind of knew when it was going to be, but now the forum post is up.
These posters are pretty awesome.
Well, it's also my trigger to really break us into teams. Let's get the schedule started. Who's going to be captain? You know, Brad, I picked you to be one. David, I picked you to be the other. You guys are gonna, get the schedule together in Excel and kind of the next thing we need to do is basically tell the people on your particular car, hey, what is your availability, and have them give that to you in Excel or whatever, and uh, and then you build the schedule from that.
Yep, looking forward to it. So we
Yeah.
had a decent run last year. We ran into some issues where we had one person could not compete, so we ended up being DQ'd. But uh, just want to have a good showing.
I have the sheet set up that I have that has the entire window from the first time slot to the fourth time slot, so that everybody can put their availability on there, and then you can turn around and decide which time slot is best to run. If there, because there might be a possibility for one. Tom Dreiling apparently he wants to race more than me because he's wanting to run all three regions of the major series, and he's wanting to run both with our GT3 team and our GTP team. And the only way we can do that is if we run different start times.
I
Well,
assume y'all are going to do the Saturday morning. That's what I plan to do.
Uh, I put the window up there because if it ends up being better for us to start early Friday, or to run the the one that starts in the middle of the night Friday, we may do that. It just depends on what everybody's availability is, and if there ends up being a place we can't squeeze it, especially if we want to try to make it where Tom can do both. Um, I guess we're sort of having a team meeting here live for everybody. We also have some of my flight teammates have two, if not three, of people available. So we might end up having two GTP teams instead of just one. It's a possibility.
All right, I'll talk with Tom about the GT3 entry because I didn't know that.
It's a lot of racing.
Well, he should be a listener to Into the Apex, because one year they tried to do both. The There was a league that hosted a 24 at the same time as the Daytona 24, and they ran both of them with the same guys, and we're having to switch back and forth, and it wore them out.
wow, that's interesting.
But it's almost time, and it's definitely the biggest event in sim racing.
I'm, I'm going to take the next event, David. This is an old friend of mine, Scott Bolster. He posted in the forums. He has a league. It's called the Ultimate Conquest Racing League, or UCRL. He's been around for years. He's had his league under a variety of different names. When I've run his league in the past, he was very fair, and he always ran a great show. So anyway, he is back, and he has announced the first annual UCRL 1987 Coca-Cola 600. and it'll be January 4th, 2025. So that is like Saturday. If you run the or you're interested in a 1987 Coca-Cola 600 uh, run on Saturday, you might like to join this event. It is free entry, and go find it in the forums. UCRL.
All right, we've talked about it a little bit, but I kind of sort of have an update. I'll do a little personal update as well with this. The North America Sim Expo 2025. This is actually a part of South by Southwest. Um, and it turns out one of the main guys that's helping, other than the people from Europe that's helping set up the all of their gear there, is Podium One Racing. All right. I don't know how much of them we've covered or not, but in the process of trying to get my Pimax, I was immediately contacted in a couple of places, but some of my flight guys said, "Hey, you can get them from Podium One Racing. They keep them in stock." And I got a hold of Podium One Racing, and because I'm like worried that Pimax is going to be 4 weeks to ship it, and Pimax says, "Yep, we have one in stock." And I end up getting a hold of Friday right before they closed. The one of the main guys at Podium One, and I'm like, "Hey, have you heard of our show?" And he's like, "No." Blah, 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 blah." So I order from them because and I send a message to support at Pimax to cancel that order, but they had already shipped it. And that message came through Saturday morning. So I had messaged the guy from Podium One, and he's like, "Okay, we'll cancel yours." So they canceled it, but we're gonna meet with them and see about kind of whatever kind of collaborative opportunities we can have. So the Podium One sim racing guys are the main distributor for Pimax for one thing. So you should know that. So if you're looking to get one, they keep them in stock. Um, and also we'll start to get to know those guys a little bit more, especially as we go down to the sim racing or the Sim Expo 2025 in Austin. So I haven't bought tickets yet. I haven't got the information on it, but I'm pretty confident at least I'm going.
I think I'm gonna go too. Look, Podium One out of Nashville. We've been talking about them for a long time. They do high-end rigs for celebrities like Snoop Dogg and Joe Rogan and stuff like that. So high-end stuff.
He knew Lawrence by name as well, so he's probably put Sim Coach's pedals on a few pedals. Um, they had just gotten back from their anniversary, so I hadn't reached out to him today, but I'll probably buzz him tomorrow and say, "Hey, I got my Pimax," and it was supposed to come. It came today, but I was gone, and UPS wouldn't deliver. Not UPS, USPS wouldn't deliver it, so I'm gonna have to go pick it up tomorrow.
I would hope the tickets go on sale soon. We're about almost 2 months out here.
Yeah, would be nice because if I'm going, I need to figure it out and book a flight and book a hotel room.
Well, it's actually a part of South by Southwest, and they just do their own little event within it because South by Southwest goes on for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know. That's what concerns me with the getting a hotel room and stuff.
Yeah, but you don't want to book your rooms before the actual expo tickets are available, just to be sure, right? You want to,
Correct.
I
Or a
agree
flight.
with that.
Worst comes to worst, my car is designed to be a one person camper now, so y'all would be shit out of luck. But if I have to, I can go find a truck stop and just throw up all my privacy guards and blow up my air mattress, and then and go just stay away from the clientele in the area.
Live on the edge, David. Walmart parking lot.
There you go. That made a lot more sense when they were 24-hour because you would have cars there all the time. None of them stay open 24 hours anymore. All right, what else is going on this week, Brad?
So just taking a quick swing through happening this week in iRacing. We've got the Winter iRacing NASCAR Series is at Rockingham. The BMW M2 Cup is at Motorsports Arena Ashlerben. Mike's FIA F4s. The Americas are at Jose Carlos Asia Pacific is at Suzuka. Europe is at Mugello. And global is at Algarve. The normal Ringmaster, Draft Masters, Rain Masters. Let's see. And then we do have IMSA is back on the calendar. So the IMSA Esports Global Championship will be at Sebring. So that will start, I believe, Sunday, 2 o'clock. And then off is the World of Outlaws, the eNASCAR College Series, Porsche Tag Heuer, and then, of course, the eNASCAR Coca Cola Series. Not ready to start yet.
Housekeeping, leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform to make it easier for more listeners to find the podcast. Mention the podcast to your fellow drivers so they don't miss out. We would appreciate it. Check out our Discord. Get involved in the discussion. It's going on every day over there, guys. And then the show notes, iRacersLounge.com. One tip there, guys, it is a little hard to, when you go to the front page, it shows some weird date, like the date we created the post or something. It's not the date of the show. You just scroll to the bottom and look for the most recent episode number. That's usually the best way to find it. We are in regular rotation at the Performance Motorsports Network. We are going to throw out a invitation to apply to our team. If you're interested in racing with us in the upcoming NASCAR season and special events like the Daytona 24 and such, being part of our team and being available Thursdays at 6:45 p.m. Eastern for recording on the podcast, we need some additional hosts. If you fit that bill, contact me by DM. Don't forget our merchandise at iRacersLounge.shop.
All right, I have heard of the Mexican wave, which is what the wave is called everywhere except America. But what is the Italian wave, Brad?
So, an Instagram post here for Wave Italy, introducing two pedals. We got the Wave Force Monza and then the Wave Impetus Imola. So, um, two options. Which one suits you better? Um, I don't know. Very expensive. Not a huge fan of the way they look. Um, yeah, it's I don't know.
Is it?
Are these load cell or hydraulic?
I've been trying to look. It
Load.
doesn't say. Does it say load?
I would assume load cell, but you're looking at. I mean, if I do the conversion, it's almost what, 2,000 US dollars. Is that right?
Ew,
Now
that's
you're
way
getting
too much.
that pedal box with it though.
I would think so. At
I
that
would hope
price, you
so.
gotta. So there's like a contraption to hang the pedals upside down, basically, is what Donnie's
Invert.
referring to.
Now, this is interesting because the first post only shows the three pedal version inverted and only shows the two pedal version uninverted. Um, but then you look on the second post and it's got a three pedal. The one that has the price is just the three pedal version, not inverted.
I kind of like the red pedal face. They got that Monza. They named it the Wayforce Monza. Got that kind of Ferrari red. To the a shout to their heritage because it is called Wave Italy. If you recall, their very first set of pedals, I believe, weren't they ones that were kind of flared where they would kind of angle to the left or to the right? Maybe I'm thinking about the French ones, but yeah, I mean these look like okay pedals, but at the price that they're offering, uh-uh.
The website's all in Italian, and I'm trying to convert some of it. And yeah, they're load cell.
All right. Well, nothing to get excited about, probably overpriced. Let's go ahead and talk about the next one, which is something to get excited about, especially if you're Mike Ellis.
That's right. We should call this "Take My Money" because Moza has finally put up a website at mozaracing.com. The website is M-Booster. That's what they call it, active pedals. And on this website, they have some great pictures and a description of the product. And so it's kind of neat to see that and do further research on what this thing does. Um, but then there's another website or a sim racing shop in Europe that posted up a similar page, but with a price at $460 US. Now, I don't know if that's correct. That's not official from Moza, but man, if it's only 460 US, I'm sold. I'm absolutely sold.
I will say they look better than the Simucube, possibly.
Yeah, but I think Mike, you'd asked in the chat, do you do all three? I see no benefit from doing three of these. I think you're better off just use traditional, um, throttling and clutch. I don't think you get the benefit. I mean, same thing with the SimuCube. If you're gonna go all in, it was what, like $6,000 or $7,000. I just don't see where you get the benefit from having a
There's no way that throttle would cost as much as that brake, right?
well, if you use you I mean, the way the SimuCube is, you can have them do any of the three. It's just what you want.
I'm looking at
So,
the Moza site, and it looks like the brake is the brake, and then the throttle's a different design. I'm hoping you're not going to buy all three.
if you scroll all the way down towards the bottom, they have a screenshot there of all three of them. You can buy all three. I just don't see why.
Oof. Yeah, never mind. I like the setup up top where it just has the one brake and then a different type of throttle.
It's definitely not needed for the clutch. I suppose if you really wanted the throttle to feel different in certain situations, you might could use it. But I mean, the way I did discover with my sim coach's pedals when I started, they let me beta test one for a little while, and I discovered really quick that I actually like to put a stronger spring in the throttle because it just gives me more fine tuning. But I don't know about necessarily needing the active feedback unless you wanted to feel wheel slip maybe through the throttle. I don't know.
I mean, the only thing I could think of with the clutch is if it could actually model a bite point. That would be the only thing. I mean, because like I've got the Husenfelds, and it's got the way it's set up is to try to mimic a bite point, but it really doesn't have it. I mean, I guess I don't know. I mean, if it could mimic, that bite point where you get that little bit of friction, that would be interesting. But I still don't think it's worth the $400.
For a clutch, what about a brake?
Well, brake completely. I'm fine with that. Just I can't see $400 for a clutch.
Other website was simline.eu, and they have the Moza M Booster Active pedal listed at 460 US, tax excluded. Pre-order available March 1st, 2025. So look, timing, if a pre-order starts early March, we're going to have the Sim Expo in mid-March. I'm not buying these before the Sim Expo, so I want to, I said in the Discord, I think I want to watch at least one review video before I spend money. I'm not in a big hurry. I already have pedals, so I'm not gonna, pre-order them. I'm gonna wait till I see, you know, uh, Will or somebody, do a review video on them, and then if everything looks right, I'll buy one of them. I don't think I'll buy all three right off the bat. I would probably just start with the brake and then see how it goes.
Shoot them an email with our listener numbers and see if they'll let you try it.
We need a sponsor. It's been a while.
Let it be Moza.
Moza money. All right. I think we've seen this one before, or at least something like this. This is a simple Apex Sim Racing push to talk button that you can attach via Velcro to any steering wheel.
Pretty simple for 127 for one button.
Well, there's a little bit more than that. You get a you got like a control box that would have where it's where it plugs into, and then for the 127, I think you actually get a brake bias knob as
Okay, that's
well.
good.
Yeah, still a lot of money. When I bought my MPI wheel, I went looking here first, and I thought this was the only option. But as I threw in the script, one that we have discussed about numerous times was the Etsy push to talk button that I found that is much cheaper and actually gives you a little bit more function, at least from the wheel standpoint. But I mean, look, the one from Apex Racing looks great. Looks virtually just like what you'd have in a in a stock car, and I get that. It looks good. Just I have a hard time parting with $127 when I can do it all for about 75.
I'm okay with not having a button on my oval wheel. My push to talk button is right near my sequential shifter. So like a lot of times you know how you rest your hand on top of the shifter because you're about to shift or you just shifted, the button's right there. So I'm comfortable just, talking to people, pushing a button there. I've never felt the need to buy one of these.
I'm super happy with my oval rim, which is really, I guess it's more like a GT rim, except it's completely round, but it's loaded with buttons. Um, it was the one I got originally from Fanatec before I got the Formula Wheel, and I only got the Formula Wheel because they back ordered the direct drives, if you remember it. I'm glad I have it now because it definitely drives different than the Oval Wheel does. The Oval Wheel gives you more sensitivity and more fine control, but I still like having all the extra buttons because I use it. You got the different chats. You use it to control the black box and a whole bunch of other stuff. So it does come in handy.
Look, the Etsy version that Brad recommends is better in a lot of ways. I see for one, it's got a mini USB or maybe that's a USB-C that unplugs right at the little button box, which is a neat advantage.
All right, so that covers both of those items. Next up, we have a haptic shifter hinted at from Sim Coaches. And this is interesting because I know that they've been testing a sequential shifter for a long time, but this is the first I've actually heard about the haptic nature of it.
Yeah. He puts up a picture of a close up of the base of the shifter, it looks like. And so you really can't get a good visual of it. It's just a portion of it.
It looks just like the what is it, the BDH?
Well, I was wondering is it does, and I wonder if he just put up a picture of the BDH and because he didn't have a picture. I don't know. But let's go on and read a little bit about what he said it's going to be. Uh, you can expect our typical high quality finish using billet 6061 aluminum. The only way you can be competitive today is by producing an H pattern and sequential all in one shifter. That's why our shifter will offer both. Um, it, the shifter will have high quality tactile feedback. You can expect it to be able to adjust how much force it takes to put the shifter into each gear. We placed a haptic reactor in the shift rod. This allows us to transfer the haptic feedback like gear shifts to your hand. We're aiming for under $1,000. So what do you guys think? A dual purpose shifter from Lawrence with haptics built into the handle. Are you in the market for that, Donnie?
I bought my one from Ohio, but it's just a sequential. I don't drive a whole lot that requires an H pattern. Um, Knowing me, I'll probably, since I could just go to the shop and buy it a couple hours away. Yeah, I'm most likely going to pick it up. I don't know. I don't see why you wouldn't want a little bit of haptic in your shifter if it feels right. And it does what it's supposed to.
I almost would buy it out of loyalty, to be honest.
That's where I was. That's
Such a
where I
good
was going
company.
with that statement.
Well, look, after you guys have this product, I mean, you got the both you guys have the pedals. Donnie, you have the monitor, triple monitor mount thing, uh, that swings out. That thing is this bomb. But everything he touches is just like the highest quality and it just looks incredible. So you know that, hey, it's going to be good. But $1,000, I mean, it sounds like he's really taking on that level of the BDH shifter that is really the creme de la creme right now of shifters, and I think that's what 1,200 or something, and so it sounds like he's going after that portion of the market. Pretty cool. Look, my shifter, it has it doesn't have like an electronic feedback, but it has a mechanism so when I pull the into a gear, it does something inside of it. I can make that feels like I'm shifting a gear. And so it's got a feel to it. But I think what he's talking about is more of a digital thing that's controlled, from the API or something.
All right, next up, and actually last up for our hardware section, we have Marvin's awesome iRacing app. And this is a post from Marvin Herbold. I hope he's just got a regular English pronunciation. If he doesn't, sorry. And he tried using IRFFB, but had lots of trouble getting it to work. And he just decided he's going to go ahead and make his own. So he must have some coding experience. He combats something called frozen soldiers, and that makes it harder for him to lift or push. And with the force feedback cranked up, after 10 minutes, he starts to hurt too much. But if he doesn't crank the force feedback up, he can't feel the details. So he wanted to be able to reduce the overall force, but turn the wheel without losing all the detail. And that's basically what he's done with this app.
It's designed to just work with little to no configuration needed. Definitely no VJoy or SimHub or any other third-party software needed. You can download it here.
It's pretty interesting. Kind of flipped through the form here. I mean, he's got some other stuff I guess he's worked on too, and he may end up integrating it into this. But it's interesting. I mean, the way that it's set up is that you can go through and you can adjust your, the overall. As he calls it, the overall scale, which would be I guess the force feedback power or however the strength, I guess. And then you can actually then dial the detail up or down as well. And you could actually, from reading the forum post, I mean, you could basically do it almost live as you're out on the tracks. I guess you could set um, like a hotkey where you could make adjustments. So I was interested. Scott Velez, who's a listener and has posted in our Discord quite a bit, has pretty good knowledge of the force feedback in iRacing. Did respond, said this was, this is interesting. So I'm hoping Scott's going to maybe, we'll hear this and maybe chime in a little bit on Discord, just kind of what he thinks about it, because it's definitely interesting. And there are times I think where this could be beneficial. I think about somebody like with the shoulder issue or anything else. Sometimes you just want to feel more detail, and I think a lot of times that detail can get muddied. Just by having to kind of crank the strength up in order to get it.
Now, on the second page of the forum post, there is a video that he put up on YouTube here, showing a demonstration live where he's on the track driving. He's got the app opened up where you can see it, and it shows the level of force feedback as a graph. And then he has the two sliders that you mentioned that you can go up and down with that control either the detail or the overall force. So like he turned down the overall force quite a bit. He turned up the detail, and that way, with his shoulder injury, he's still able to feel that detail. Now I haven't tried this. I'm kind of waiting for Scott to try it. Like you said, let Scott, you be our guinea pig and see what you think. But you do have to go into the app and flip a switch in there. I guess that turns off the force feedback from iRacing, so this app will use, the force feedback comes from that app, I guess is how that works.
I think it has to do with True Force, which is something specifically for Logitech or something like that. Um, the way I'm reading this, there's basically two signals that go to your wheel. There's kind of the steady force that you feel when you're turning the wheel, where it's trying to move back to the center, and then there's the detail of the bumps and engine and curbs and such. And he basically if I'm reading this right, he describes those come in two different signals, and one actually comes through a DC signal, and one comes through an AC signal, and that's why it's easy to be able to separate the two types of signals. Uh, and you can basically turn one or the other up, so you can make it not force you back to the center as much, but still jerk hard when you hit bumps and such.
I guess my questions would be for somebody who's tried this is, can you still use the F9 key while you're in car and make adjustments there to force feedback
I
up
would
and
guess
down?
no.
Okay.
That'd be my guess. With the change that you make in the app INI, I think is what you're basically is disabling the force feedback out of the game.
How often do you guys mess with your force feedback?
I use the auto thing, so as soon as I jump in a car each week, go out and run, 3 or 4 laps, hit the auto button, and basically leave it there. Sometimes I'll maybe take it up just a little bit, one click if I just want to feel a little bit more. Just kind of depends.
I think I mostly just run default, and I have mine. Except that I have it turned way up on the Gen 7 car, just because otherwise you don't feel it.
Yeah. I run in the profiles in the SimiCube software at 100%, no matter what. And then in game, I do the same thing Brad does. Run the car on the track for 2 laps, hit auto under the F9 button, and then I go with it.
Yeah, I don't make it. I mean, with Sim Magic, I don't make any changes to the software. I mean, I run the same profile for everything. Just make the quick adjustment with the auto in the game.
I do have different profiles for different types of cars that are available through the SimiCube community. I run the Daniel Morad profile, as well as a Dan Suzuki one, and then I have a specific one for NASCAR.
All right, to more specifically answer your question, Mike, not only do you disable True Force in the INI, you actually go into the in-game menu and turn off force feedback, and then have this app control it instead through the telemetry. So it's not using iRacing's software at all to run the force feedback.
Look, if I hear some good feedback from our listeners, I might try this. And if especially if you can dial that in, and I might want to turn up those the curbs, the bumps and stuff, turn that up 10, 20%, something like that.
Yeah, it would be cool to amplify that even if you don't minimize the other stuff, because for me, how hard I want the centering force to be, or that overall strength, it basically I use that to control how basically the handling of the car. If the wheel is too light, I'll oversteer going into a corner. So anytime I'm spinning out a lot, one of the first things I'll actually do is turn the force feedback strength up some. Pretty neat idea.
All right, let's
Well,
talk this week's results. We're going to start with the GT4 Sports Car Challenge, IMSA Sport Car Endurance Challenge, something like that. Donnie S, what'd you get?
Yeah, it started with GT4 fixed this week as at Watkins Glen P13 and a P21. Then I moved into the multi-class, the GT4 and the LMPs, a P12 and a P5. Nothing too crazy for how simple Watkins Glen is for me. It was probably my rougher week of the first three, but so far top 5 in all my series in the championship points. So I'm hoping to grab one of them.
All right, and then Brad, P10.
Yeah, so just like Donnie, just we're running the endurance challenge, but I figured since I was off yesterday, I would go ahead and jump in one of the 30-minute races just to get a little bit of practice. Kind of finished about where I should have. I think I told Donnie, I've never had great pace at Watkins Glen. I don't know why, but managed to keep it clean, even though there were some sketchy moves early in the race for passes. Really had more issues with cars in the same class, just getting over aggressive. And I told Donnie, I mean, I had a couple of them just kind of, really just dive bombing quite a bit, and then finally just said, "You know what? Go on and pass me." And then 2 laps later, they ended up stuffing it in the ARPCO. So at the end of the day, didn't hurt me as far as points, or I mean, as far as a finishing position.
right? And then I ran the FIA F4 Regional Americas, P12 at Watkins Glen. I spun off on my own. I had to pit and then finished off the race. Uh, then it switched over weeks to Brazil. Started way back, missed all those wrecks, ended up finishing P6 in top split. This split, there were actually 3 Coke drivers in there, and I had to deal with those guys as well, and they were fast. But that was a pretty good points day because there was some real heavy hitters in there. Then I ran again, started ninth, worked my way up to sixth, but then spun off not once but twice on my own to finish P16. Ouch! There's one particular corner there where uh, it's a real sharp turn and it goes down a little bit and then back up, and that elevation change has got me spinning in the same corner twice in the same race. All right, IMSA, David Hall. Wow, P3 times 1? What does that mean?
So I've been racing a lot, being off over the last few weeks, and I'm not putting down every result, especially the ones where I get taken out by either a stupid GTP or stupid GT3. Um, and so P3 times 1 means I got 1 P3, and then yesterday on New Year's Day, I was in a battle, pretty epic battle with a guy, and we were able to race each other clean even after he got run into by a guy that is marked as an unsafe driver, um, who ended up taking himself out. The clean racer survived and was racing me, and we actually swapped the lead a couple times. And coming around to the last corner, coming around Le Mans, I had to check up for a GT3. Couldn't go through there safely, so he got right back to me and got to the outside of me. And as we're going around Sunset, um, I've got the inside, so I've got a little bit of the advantage, but I also there's a GT3 exiting Sunset right as we exit, and I was able to screen him and by staying on the second lane and keeping him from being able to pass because he had to stop for the GT3. So the GT3 ran a pick for me. So first win in a while, at a track that I love, and that's Sebring.
All right. Brad, how about your races?
So did one more at Motegi last week. Ended up with a P8. Started near the rear. This was a top split. Managed to avoid some of the spinners early. Settled into a decent finish, but being a top split's nice because you earn quite a few points. So finishing P8 in top split got me more points than finishing P4 in an earlier race. So, and then first race at Sebring, P5. Um, Started P4, but gave up spots for safety at the beginning. Really struggling here in the Mustang. The car just does not like the bumps. Coming through Sunset Bend is just brutal. That's where I'm losing quite a bit of time. Really, that whole last sector from Le Mans, I cannot figure out how to get through Le Mans, and then I went to the Ullman Straight without losing time. But was probably going to finish about seventh, but P5 and P6 end up taking each other out. So at the end of the day, it was a good points day. Probably get a couple more in before the week is done.
Yeah, then hosted unofficial Iran IndyCar at Indianapolis in hosted. Started 33rd, finished 4th. Great race. Then the 87s at Talladega came from the back to the front, and then got wrecked out near the end. And then Gen 5 for Michigan got wrecked out. Wasn't very fun, actually. Then the holiday event that we threw as the iRacers Lounge was the dirt trucks at the Wild West Motorsports Park, and we accidentally had cautions turned on, which turned into a disaster, and we actually didn't end up finishing the event. Uh, then I ran 87s at Old Daytona, started 33rd and won the race. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Donnie, I had you and somebody else in there with me. That was kind of fun. And then Delara Dash at Daytona wrecked out. Old IndyCar at Pocono wrecked out. And then 87s at Talladega wrecked out. Yikes.
You left off the M2 at Charlotte we ran.
Oh, that's right.
That was I think that's
BMWs.
60 cars we had on the track. It was interesting.
Yeah, so that's a lot of fun running those hosted events. What did you think of that, Donnie, when we had like 60 cars at Talladega and they're just wrecking all over and you're just kind of dodging and weaving?
Honestly, just had a lot of fun. So I haven't done a lot of hosted, and we just kind of went in your rooms after the holiday event we tried to put on, but it was nice not or knowing you didn't have anything to worry about, but you also wanted to take it seriously because you could learn a lot, like crash avoidance. You still learn that crap. I posted a fun video of driving through my Days of Thunder madness. Ended up finishing fourth in that race you won. I thought I was going to get you at the end, but it didn't work out. But it was maybe I got to make that my Saturday night routine.
Yeah, I mean, you were coming at the end. I think if you had another lap, you would have had me for sure. But I was holding them off, and I had gotten up there soon enough that I was leading near the end. So I was right where I wanted to be. Let's talk about our league race on Monday night from the Polar Series at Homestead. P14, the set was really hard to drive. I mean, I've been complaining about the fixed iRacing sets in this league that we've been in over the winter every week almost. I mean, this one was just difficult. I don't know if you what you guys thought, but P7 for Justin Pearson, he did okay. Donnie Spiker, P16.
Yeah, every time I think about maybe running a fixed season of something, I am quickly reminded, no, I hate fixed racing. I appreciate the league. I appreciate the racing for the most part. My problem is I maybe turn one or two laps in the beginning of registration. Then I go downstairs, button up the house, do what I got to do. And then I come up for qualifying, which I don't really qualify because I don't feel comfortable. So I start in the back and I just kind of, this set sucked. This one was horrible. I just nursed it around the back and I basically scavenged, it looks like 9 spots just hanging out in the back, picking up on people wrecking.
And there were people wrecking. So
Like me.
David, how was your race?
On one of the early long runs, I run down a guy. I pass him clean. Another guy who's also catching us passes both of us, and I ease up just a little, let him go. And the guy that I just passed clean gets beside me and races beside me for 2 laps, and then washes up and takes me out instead of staying low. Um, I've had a history with him before. That's just the way he races, and I guess I just need to be reminded of it the next time I get near him.
I think prior to yours, he might have been a part of the first caution we had, but I think he was already sideways once before.
Well, this wasn't sideways. He just came up and took me
Okay.
out.
It was a
And the
hard
car
set.
when I towed, the car actually said too much damage. It wouldn't let me go back out.
They take you to the campground.
Um, might as well have for sure. What did I do after that? I think I ran an IMSA race right after that, actually.
Okay, well, let's jump into, I guess, final thoughts. Brad Wren, you're up first.
Uh, so yeah, I ended up missing the league race Monday night. I ended up getting the other pair of the Govee lights. So I spent the night putting those on and playing around getting those adjusted. Really enjoying those. Really adds a lot more to the to it than I thought it would. Some tracks are better than others. I think I said that last week. So I ended up pulling the trigger and bought a DDU and put that on, even though I now blocked the replay things. But I think I'm going to end up probably picking up a Stream Deck to use to do some of that at some point. But enjoying the DDU. It's nice to be able to customize and get actually more information out of it, especially running sports cars. So enjoying that. It's just kind of been a week of tinkering, and then ended up ordering casters to put the rig up on casters. It's on feet now, but we ran into a situation where we have a company that comes out and does our annual inspection for like the HVAC, electrical, and all that. Well, the breaker box is in the corner behind the rig, and the guys were completely thrilled and fascinated by the rig, but they couldn't get to the breaker box. So um, decided I'd go ahead and get some casters. I'll give you an update on how they work. They're supposed to be not only lock from rolling, but lock from turning as well. So because this thing is pretty massive and it takes about 3 of us to move it. when I have had to move it. So well, so yeah, just kind of just playing with the rig and adding stuff on and having a good time.
I have 4-inch casters on mine. I would never have a rig without them now. To be able to pull it back, vacuum the floor, pull it back, work on the pedals, whatever I want to do. You'd roll it into the other room. It's super handy to be on casters. My second thought is that they're going to be really hard to put on after your rig is built. I think you're supposed to put those on in the beginning. I'm going to recommend get your jack out of your car trunk, like a car jack. Get 2 car jacks and probably jack your rig up on jack stands where it's off the ground, and then attach the wheels. Because how else are you going to attach them?
Well, so it's on feet right now, and the feet raise it up about 4 inches. So I've got room there. So yeah, I will probably just grab the floor jack out of the garage, jack the front, jack the back, and put them on. So I don't think it's gonna be that bad. Honestly, like I said, when I built this, I bought the feet because I couldn't stand being on the ground as I've gotten older. Um, getting crawling out of the rig when you're basically on the floor is not fun.
Yeah, I used two 2x4s this week, actually yesterday, to jack up the front and the back because I upgraded my. I'm on carpet, so I wanted the carpet glides bigger so I can slide the rig better. And so I had to use the front end was no go. I couldn't even lift the damn thing. So I got two 2x4s for leverage and was able to jack it up. Mainly, I probably could have moved it away from the wall. I was cramped in the little tiny section, but either way, it's heavy.
Y'all just need to train more.
Yeah, the fingertips weren't working.
Yeah.
I'm only up to 315. I can't. Not yet. Not there. I'm not at
I
David.
should go try to lift mine right now.
Yeah, but you don't have triple monitors and a computer that's attached to the back of the monitors and all that either.
One
And
more question,
fingertips.
Brad, on the lights. You went from 2 to 4. Are you happy about going from 2 to 4? Was two
Yes, I am.
enough? What is it? How
Um,
big a difference is?
it's big because you get more. So, with them, each one has three segments in there. So I went from um, 6 segments to 12. So I was able to actually in SimHub really narrow down the like if you've set it up, you know how it is. You basically have a grid and you're working across the car, so I can really actually narrow them in very nicely. But it just again, so when the light's coming in from the side, now I have I've got a light high enough to where I catch it on the side, not just from the front. So yeah, I mean, it's just again, you really get it when you like Watkins Glen. When you come out of the carousel, you hit those trees and it gets dark, and just everything comes down. And then as you come back out of the trees, it lights back up. Like Motegi was wonderful because you go through it, you go under the bridge, and it gets dark for a second, and then lightens back up. So, yeah, I'm completely eh, happy with them.
What'd you use for mounts?
Good old Etsy, or Sim Sport Gadget, which they're on Etsy too. They 3D print them. They're fantastic.
What do they mount
I
to?
have
They're they go on. They're mounted to the 80/20, so just with T nuts. So I've got the two in front of me are on the back of the fourth monitor stand, and then the other ones are just are attached to both of the arms coming out from the triples. I'll snap a few pictures and throw them up in the chat.
I was worried that going from 2 to 4 would be too bright, like there would be too much light.
I don't think so. I cut everything off down here, so all the only light I get is from the rig. I may end up adjusting that a little bit now, because you can go in there and you can adjust I think they call it a gamma in SimHub. I may take that down just a little bit, but I'm enjoying it. Like I said, you don't. It's one of those things where you catch yourself at first. You look at the lights, but then you just start to you don't worry about it, and then you realize as you're seeing the light come across the car, same thing's happening to you. I'll see it on the steering wheel.
Do you get at a oval like Bristol night, Daytona night, where the track lighting kind of strobes as you go along? Because You go past the light pole, it's brighter, and then there's a kind of a in between the two light poles where it's a little less bright. So as you're driving, it almost is a strobe effect. And so
Yeah.
you're
Or
going to
run
get that
Sebring,
too.
or run Sebring or Lamont at night where you're only lit up in certain places.
Yep.
Okay, moving on. David Hall, final thought.
Looking forward to all the endurance racing. We'll get it all planned out. Excited to finally get that win at IMSA. I was close like 4 times at the Glen, and then was terrible at Montague. But Sebring just suits me. I guess it's another mostly flat track. I seem to do better at those. So excited about that, and it's a great way to kick off the new year.
Right. And then Donnie Spiker, what are your final thoughts?
Yeah, just enjoying the GT4, the series that they run. I will say that for my road rating, it's getting to the point where now for my splits that I run, I'm getting into the same oval issue where I'm in the top split, but I won't beat those top guys. So now I just fight to beat my car number. And I used to not care about iRating. I typically don't, but now I want to try to get it to 2000. Um, I've been gaining since week 1, pretty good. And a little bit this week was a little bit of a hit, but overall up on iRating. But over GT4, just having fun learning the roadside.
Right. My final thoughts. Still struggling in the F4 at certain tracks, and that's frustrating. I kind of gave up on the 87s. The M2 BMW though is so much fun at the Oschersleben. What a great track for that little car, and it's just so much fun to drive. And I think I'm going to run some more of those. I'm also going to start practicing the Cadillac GTP at Daytona, maybe later tonight even, but or maybe Sebring, and kind of get that going. I'm excited. I'm kind of already thinking Daytona 500. We talked about what division are we going to be in, once the Daytona 500 week drops, because that's really where what your division gets set, depending on what your I rating is at that moment, that week. And so I'm probably going to end up Division Two. Um, you guys have any guesses where you think the Division Two to Division One will cut off? It's usually been 3,500 or so. I think it's going to be higher this year.
It'll probably be somewhere around there. I can't imagine it being much higher.
Well, for every the I rating is essentially zero sum, right? Because for every high I rating, there's a low I rating. Because everybody that moves up, somebody else has to move down. So I think the averages don't ever really change that much. So it's generally going to be roughly in the same area. It might shift by 100 or so, but it's not going to drastically shift. And
I think
we
it,
posted a chart somewhere. I remember seeing a list at some point where the averages are. Isn't it like 3,500 usually ends up at about Division One?
yeah, that's what I'm thinking, or 3,400, somewhere there. Other thoughts, excited about that price I saw on the Moza active brake. If that is real, I'm excited. But look, I've already said it out loud on this show before. If it was $1,000 or even $1,200, I'd probably still get it. But to see it at only 460, wow, they're really going after the market on these things. That's a very competitive price when you compare it to what SimiCube has done with their $6,000 pedals. So Moza, well done. Uh, I like that they're not super long and I can integrate it right into what I already have, which was kind of the whole plan all along. I bought these knockoff pedals off Amazon last summer with this in mind, that I was eventually going to add the Moza active brake to go with it. And so it's kind of neat to see the plan taking shape. Looks like, it's coming out early March as a pre-order and whatnot. Probably we'll get to see it at the Sim Expo, or, mid-March, and probably buy it right after that. So yeah, pretty excited about that. And with that, we'll see you on the track later. All right. Title ideas. We got 3. What's your vote?
3.
Got Beef is so unoriginal.
Cyclops.
Yeah, Cyclops, for sure.
Which one was that for again?
The fact that I'm running on one monitor.
That's right. That's right. That works. And you won.
All right, number
I tell
one
you,
it is. Good show, guys.
I've adapted to it, but where it really is still a disadvantage and really cost me in a race is I was going around the hairpin, and it was lap one. Every cars are spinning everywhere, and I think I'm clear of the car because there's one that went straight across the hairpin, but there was also one stopped on the track, and I couldn't see him until I was facing him because I couldn't look around the corner. So that's where VR is a huge advantage.